Hello everybody. Welcome back, or welcome if you are new. I'm Tamara. Today I'm going to be sharing some delicious meal ideas with you guys. These are perfect recipes for this nice cozy fall weather that we have been having. It has been beautiful here at the campground. I'm also going to be adding in just a few random clips of some moments of October. Now that we're living in the camper, it seems like it's just a little bit more difficult for me to film and get videos out as regularly as I personally would like. So I decided to just add a couple clips in just so y'all can see some random moments that we had of October. So I hope y'all enjoyed today's video, and let's go ahead and get cooking, y'all. Up first, and one of my personal favorites in this video, is honey mustard glazed chicken with some roasted veggies. You guys, this was so good. I fixed this for Luke and I for lunch, and I honestly was surprised at how well he liked it too, and we both are already ready to have it again. This is one that I talked about recently in one of my grocery haul videos, and I shared that I had got the inspiration for this from TikTok. I will make sure to have that video linked down below again, but I am just doing my own version of it, and she used maple syrup in hers for her glaze, and I am using honey for mine because I like maple syrup, but my husband does not. So I chose to do a honey mustard version of this, and it was delicious. So starting first, I'm going to go ahead and just get my veggies chopped up, and I'm going to go ahead and get those tossed and put in my air fryer so that way those can start roasting up. I've just chopped up my carrots and sweet potatoes, and I'm going to go ahead and give those a drizzle with some avocado oil. I'm going to add in some fresh chopped rosemary. I'm going to add in a little bit of cinnamon and some salt and pepper, and I'm just going to put those in my air fryer at 400 until they are cooked to our liking. I'm going to go ahead and get my cast iron pan nice and hot with a little bit of avocado oil in it, and I'm going to cook my chicken. I'm just using chicken thighs, and I just seasoned those with some salt, pepper, and garlic powder on both sides, and I'm going to cook those until they are about 5 or so minutes done, till reaching the internal temperature of 165. For the glaze over the chicken, we're going to go ahead and mix together some honey, Dijon mustard, salt, pepper, minced garlic, and some apple cider vinegar. We're just going to mix that together, and that's what we're going to pour over top of the chicken once it's about 5 minutes out from being done. This was seriously so good. One of the things that I'm really bad about is just sticking to the same recipes. And I have really been trying to, play around in the kitchen more, enjoy, testing out new recipes. And this one was hands down one of my favorites. And we will definitely be making it again. I'm going to add that sauce right on top of the chicken. I did reduce the heat, and I'm just going to let the chicken finish cooking in this sauce, and it's going to thicken up and be delicious. This one is definitely a keeper. Y'all definitely have to give this one a try. It is so, so delicious. Okay, I'm getting supper going in the crock pot this morning. We are going to have French dips, sandwiches. Now, we've made versions of French dips before. I'm trying a new to me recipe. I'll have it linked down below. But I'm going to go ahead and add my roast in. Now you can definitely season this on both sides and sear it. I ain't got time for that, so we're just gonna pop it in the crock pot and go ahead and get it going. I will season it on both sides though, just with salt, pepper, and probably some onion powder. And I'm gonna be adding garlic in there, so I won't add any garlic powder. In here I have got my beef broth, and I've also added in my balsamic vinegar. Now I'm going to add in soy sauce. This is low sodium. I have looked into the coconut aminos, but y'all, it's expensive. So we're just going to finish. I have quite a bit of these in the basement still. So we're just going to finish these off, and then we'll look into the coconut aminos. But now I'm adding in some W sauce. And then some honey. I'm just going to my honey's crystallizing. We like garlic, so we're gonna go in with, we'll say 3. Add as little or as much as you want. My honey is stuck to my spoon, so we're just gonna kind of scrape it all in here. They'll all cook together and Mary wants. For a good fall apart roast, you want to cook it low and slow. So I'm going to cook it for about 10 hours, and then I'll bring y'all back when it's time to shred. We needed some buns to go with supper for our roast, so I'm going to go ahead and get a batch of dough going. That way I can get those shaped and let those rise and get those baked. I'm using my favorite bread recipe. I've talked about this for months and months and months. It's my favorite. I found it last year and I absolutely love it. It is the softest and fluffiest and best bread ever, and I use it for rolls. I use it for garlic knots. I use it for loaf bread. I use it for cinnamon rolls. Like, this is just the basic recipe that I literally use for everything. It is so, so good. I will make sure to have the recipe that I use linked down below, and then I'll add my little notes, the stuff that I do differently compared to the recipe. That's one thing about me, and y'all, if you've been here a while, you know that I don't follow the recipes to a T. I don't give full measurements and everything, especially if it's not my personal recipe. So, and I have been having people ask, like, where do I find the recipes at? I honestly cook a lot without using recipes, so if it doesn't have a recipe, I apologize. But if there ever is anything that does have a recipe, or even if it's just meal inspiration, then I try to link it in the description box for you guys. So y'all can always find it in the bottom of every video in the description box. For our side dish, we decided to do some Parmesan roasted green beans. I've got my air fryer, toaster oven preheated to 400 degrees, and I have just got some fresh green beans there. I have just washed them, picked out any bad spots or whatever, and then I gave them a drizzle with some avocado oil, and then I just added in a few dashes of balsamic vinegar. I'm adding in some Parmesan cheese, and then I just like to do salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, some paprika. Y'all know I also like to add turmeric into everything. I always just say season with your heart, use what your family likes, use what you enjoy, and don't be afraid of seasonings. Now, these are one of my personal favorite side dishes. I love Parmesan roasted anything, in my opinion. If you've not tried Parmesan roasted carrots, you need to try them too, because they are also delicious. I'm trying to think if I've already shared those on here. If I have and I can find that video, I'll have it linked down below, but they're also good. So I'm just going to give everything a good toss, and then I'm going to get those put into the air fryer and let those cook up. You know your roast is cooked perfectly when it just shreds right apart. Y'all, this was so good, and we will definitely fix this again. The only thing that we would do different is we feel like it needed onions. I think if you cut up, do thin sliced, 1 or 2 onions and put that with the roast and the sauce when it's cooking, we thought that that's just what it needed. Like the flavor that it gives from that sauce and the roast, it gives like French onion soup vibes. And so we both said, this just needs a bunch of onions on it. But this was delicious. And I'm sure I'm going to get a comment saying that my roasted Parmesan green beans were burnt. But they weren't, because if you remember, I added balsamic vinegar in there. And so that balsamic vinegar changed the color of the Parmesan cheese. So I promise they weren't burnt. They were delicious. And I ended up eating about half of them. Next up is a family favorite, taco soup, or taco chili in our case. I was making this in the electric skillet, so I didn't have enough, headspace to make it more like a soup, but nonetheless, it was so delicious. I'm actually excited because we had leftovers and I was able to put it in the freezer, and I'm so excited to have it later. I just have about a pound of hamburger meat there. I've cooked that down with some onion, and I drained the grease. And I'm adding in a home can of salsa, and I'm also adding in a home can of stock. I prefer to use whatever stock with like what protein I'm using. So if I have beef, then I like to use beef stock. If I'm using chicken, then I like to use chicken stock. It just depends on though what I have on hand, because sometimes I don't have, the right stocks on hand. So I always just say use what you got and work with what you got. I'm also going to add in a can of chili beans. Chili beans is one of the things that I have been meaning to home can myself, and I have not found a recipe yet. If y'all have any recipes that for like chili beans, y'all let me know, because I would really like to home can and make my own. I'm going to add in a home can of corn and a home can of black beans. I just drained and rinsed both of those. I'm going to add those in. And then I just like to top it off with some tomato juice. I will just, add however much to the consistency that we like, or the size of pot that I have. And then I'm going to add in just a packet's worth of some taco seasoning. I'm using homemade. You use whatever you got. I did just recently share how I make my homemade taco seasoning, so I will have that link down below for you guys if y'all want to see that video if you missed it. And then I just mix everything together, and I will kind of reduce the heat on this, and I'll just let it simmer for about 20 to 30 minutes. For toppings on my soup, I really like to add some avocado, some shredded cheese, and then some blended cottage cheese. I use blended cottage cheese in replacement for sour cream. We really don't buy sour cream anymore. Luke and I both use blended cottage cheese. At first, he thought it was weird. There is a different texture there, but I prefer it over sour cream. But we really enjoyed this. It was so good, and we ate it in front of the campfire. Last meal in today's video is a chicken broccoli pot pie. This was so good. I'm going to go ahead and cook down some onions, and I'm going to cook down some carrot. I'm just going to let that cook a second until the onions start to get translucent. Now I'm going to add in my chicken. I've got about a pound there. I ended up just pulling out what I had in the freezer, and I had one chicken breast and one chicken thigh, so I just used both of those. I just cut them up into chunks, and then I'm just going to give everything a good season. While that chicken's cooking, I'm using salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika. I'm adding in some turmeric. I did some ground thyme, Italian seasoning. Like I said, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of flavor. Once my chicken is cooked through, I'm going to go ahead and add in some garlic. I just did a couple tablespoons. Of course, you add as little or as much garlic as you want. We're garlic lovers around here, though. I'm going to stir that around for a minute or two to let that get fragrant. And then I'm going to add in one frozen bag worth of broccoli, but I did thaw it out the night before, and I chopped it up into smaller manageable pieces just so it all kind of fit together with the size of the chicken and the other veggies. And then I'm going to just give that a good mix. I'm going to add in, I started out with just adding one of my home canned jars of cream and mushroom soup. If you are interested in that, it is a Rebel canning recipe. It's an Amish canning recipe. I will have that video linked down below. It's been a while since I have shared that. I've made a bunch of it, so I'm just working my way through it in the pantry. But whenever I need to make more, I'll definitely film that again. It is one of my favorites that I Rebel can. Absolutely love that. Having that homemade swap in my pantry has been a game changer. When I definitely try to start cutting out a lot of the processed food that we ate. So that was a big one for me. But I did end up adding 2 of those cans because I thought that, it was a little on the drier side. And then instead of adding like a cup or so of sour cream, I'm using blended cottage cheese. Like I said, that's what we use in replacement for sour cream a lot. I honestly don't even buy sour cream anymore. If I do, it's like, if we have people coming over, company, and they don't want blended cottage cheese. But that's what Luke and I use. Now I'm going to just go ahead and add in another round of the seasonings, the same seasonings that I had already added before, just to make sure everything is, well seasoned and your food's going to have some yummy flavor. And then once I get all of that mixed, I ended up adding about, it was probably more of like 1.5 cups of cheese. I had shredded up some cheddar and some pepper jack. That's what I had shredded, and so I added, it was definitely a lot of cheese, but you add as little or as much cheese as you like. We are also cheese lovers around here. So I'm going to just mix that in, and then I'm going to put that into a casserole dish, and then we're going to top it with some dough. Now, instead of me making my own dough, I actually had a leftover puff pastry sheet. Whenever we went and visited my grandparents, we had went to Trader Joe's, and so I had one of those puff pastry sheets left in the freezer, so I thawed it out, and that's what I used for the topping of our pot pie. I've had my air fryer toaster oven preheating to 375 while I was working on this, so it's nice and hot and ready. I added my puff pastry sheet onto this. It was an 8x8, I believe, casserole dish. That's what fits best in our air fryer toaster oven. And instead of doing an egg wash, if you are new here, I hate wasting eggs for egg wash, in my opinion. I just hate it. Unless it's, something special or fancy, then I'll use one. But if it's just us and I'm cooking for us, I will use heavy cream. If you have a pastry brush, it's a lot easier, but I couldn't find mine. So I'm just using the back of a spoon, which it works good. So I'm just going to go ahead and get that all coated at the top, and then I'm going to get that put into my air fryer. Now I'm going to show y'all the reality of our household and how things work. Winston would not eat this. He doesn't love chicken like this. There's only a couple recipes I can get him to eat that's chicken. Of course, the veggies is a no-go for him as well, especially if he can see them. So Winston is super picky. So for supper this night, since I was fixing this pot pie for Luke and I, our kid still needs to eat. And I don't make him, that's one of the things in our household. We don't make him eat something if he's not going to eat it. I would rather him go to bed, full, happy, healthy, full tummy. One of the things I have been working on, since I have changed my relationship with food, I have built a healthier relationship with food. That's one of the things that I'm teaching him as well. That's my job now as his mother, to teach him to have a, healthy relationship with food, teaching him balance and, enjoying those things in moderation. But I still, I want him to eat. And so I cooked him his own little casserole. I made his own little pot pie. I had some hamburger meat. I had cooked up some onions, and I had added in a home can of cream and mushroom soup, and then I added some cheese in there, put that at the bottom, and then I topped that with the crust. Did the same thing with the heavy cream on top, and then I cooked both of those in our air fryer. He enjoyed it. We all went to bed with full, happy tummies, and this was such a delicious meal. Well, that is going to be it for me today. I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. I hope it gave you some new meal inspiration, recipes that you can cook up for your family to enjoy. All of these were so, so good. Definitely keepers, and I'll have to keep these on our fall and winter rotation. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.